Hello everyone and welcome back to another album review. In this video I'm going to review You Know What I'm Saying by Danny Brown. This is the highly anticipated album from rapper Danny Brown, one of those artists that has managed over the past decade or so to create some of the most innovative and some of the most groundbreaking hip-hop albums of this decade. And that's especially with his previous effort, Atrocity Exhibition, which is definitely considered to be one of the most important and most highly appreciated hip-hop albums from this decade, and I myself can definitely see why. This album became a grower to me, an album that I did really appreciate from the first listen, but the more I would listen to it, the more I would just realize that what Danny Brown did with this album was quite exceptional. First of all, one of the things that makes this album quite exceptional is the fact that it's released from a label, Warp Records, a label that is most usually known for releasing hip-hop music. It's one of the most well-known labels, if not the most well-known one, for releasing some of the best IDM releases. So watching a rapper being part of this label, releasing the album on Warp Records, this means something. Also, this album is known for having some of the weirdest and some of the most wicked beats and instrumentals out of every hip-hop album of this decade. It's really experimental, it's really out there, and Danny Brown is easily one of the very few rappers that truly push the boundaries in rapping over some of those really weird and out there beats. And Danny Brown's delivery himself, he has a really special voice. It's really unique. And for some people, it might be quite annoying. I can definitely get that. He has a quite special voice. His style is definitely not for everyone. I can get that. But still, he proves that he is one of the best rappers currently. And so this one made me really excited for what he was about to come up next, because what he did with Atrocity Exhibition marked a really spectacular and really special moment for hip-hop. So it's understandable that even after 3 years, Danny Brown might not be able to follow up something that big and make something that impressive. Now me myself, I was not expecting necessarily for a new album to Danny Brown to be as impressive or up to par with Atrocity Exhibition, even though the thing with this album was that it was a big grower on me. But this one over here, You Know What I'm Saying, is an entirely different direction. This is actually his most chill, his more laid down, his more smooth and his more groovy album. This one goes the closest to some really old school hip hop vibes. It's still quite abstract, it's still a bit experimental, but it mostly goes into a jazzy and conscious hip-hop sound. Another album released on Warp Records and with executive production on Q-Tip. And let me say that this album is actually pretty good, and I was definitely looking forward to it since the two first singles were amazing. I was in love with the track Dirty Laundry. In my opinion, I really love the instrumental to this thing. It's definitely one of the most gorgeous instrumentals I've heard in a hip-hop song this year. I love the production to this thing, and it's just a really beautiful song, and I like the delivery from Danny Brown. It's a bit different than what he usually does. It's not as aggressive and as abstract, but what he delivered in this one just showed a new direction from Danny Brown that I was definitely looking forward to. And then the track Best Life was easily one of my favorite moments as well. I love the instrumental to this thing, I love its change-ups, it has a really smooth beat to it, and also this whole album shows a different reflection of Danny Brown's self. He seems to get better, be healthier, and moving into a new direction in his life that it's for the better. And the track Best Life also has one of my favorite lines of this year, cause ain't no next life, so now I'm trying to live my best life. I love this line. Then the third teaser track that was released a few days before the release of the album, 3 Tears featuring Grounded Jewels with production of JPEG Mafia. I think it was an okay track, but a bit disappointing compared to the previous two ones. I think the instrumental is quite nice, and I would definitely like to see JPEG Mafia himself actually going to this direction with this sort of beats, because it's not like the extremely crazy and all over the place instrumental that he had with his album All My Heroes Are Cornballs, but still I dig this sort of direction. The one thing I wasn't really that impressed was actually with the features. I think Grounded Jewels didn't bring all that much to the song, and in my opinion it also has one of the weakest choruses out of the entire album. Now getting into the rest of the thing, this is an extremely short album. It's only 11 tracks that go for about 34 minutes long. So it's just straight to the point and it's not that messy. It goes to this more jazzy, laid back side, and this definitely makes it his most consistent project so far. It still has some moments that might sound a bit different over the others, but it's not like the extremely weird change of directions that he had with his album Old, for example. And the album has an incredible introduction with the two first tracks, Change Up and Theme Song, which sound like two really unsettling tracks. They remind me a bit of what Danny Brown did with the first tracks of Atrocity Exhibition, like The Downward Spiral, Tell Me What I Don't Know, and Rolling Stone. Change Up has some really spacey guitars, it has some lo-fi drum beat, it has a really old school sort of low bop feel to it. But what's even more unsettling is the theme song, which reminds me a lot of the track Lost, which was definitely one of the creepiest and weirdest songs out of the previous album of Danny Brown, Atrocity Exhibition. Like this really laid back beat, these strings, and those repeated whispery samples, yeah, they make it a bit of a creepy song. Some of my other highlights would be the tracks Savage Nomad. It's one of the more aggressive moments from Danny Brown, and those looped samples sound really good, and also the same with the last track, Combat. Really love the sampling on this thing and the loops. The tracks themselves just go for about 2 or 3 minutes long. Some of them feel a bit short, I would like more out of them, and this album definitely is not as energetic and as aggressive as Atrocity Exhibition, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I actually love the laid back sound of You Know What I'm Saying, and he still progresses as a rapper and goes into a different direction with this one once again. But some of the moments on this album are definitely a bit weak, like the track Belly of the Beast, which is a bit unsettling, a bit weird, but Obongjayar's delivery, it's not something special, and it's not that much of a track that I feel all that much. It was a bit forgettable, especially the track You Know What I'm Saying, the self-titled one, also featuring Obongjayar. And yeah, these were two tracks that I wasn't really that much of a fan of. Like I said, I wanted the track 3 Tears to be a bit better. I kind of like the track Negro Spiritual featuring JPEG Mafia. I liked JPEG's delivery on the hook on this thing. It was not something I would expect. It was quite smooth. And the track Sign featuring Blood Orange is also quite decent. It has a really nice chorus to it actually. So with that being said, this album is really short. It's definitely the most consistent work he has done. But in my opinion, there could have been more out of it, since there are some tracks over here that are a little bit weak. This might not be up to par with Atrocity Exhibition, but we're talking about a different album. It goes into a different direction and we see a different side of Danny Brown. This one is his most soothing and relaxing work. It has the biggest throwback in terms of hip-hop sound, and definitely some of my favorite Danny Brown tracks land on this album. This is another solid work from Danny Brown, an album that I was highly anticipating, and this is definitely one of the most satisfying and most compelling hip-hop releases of this year. I'm going to give this album a 7+ out of 10. What's your opinion on this album? Like it, dislike it, why, and what do you want me to review next time? Let me know down in the comments. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.